Namaste and welcome to KUSOM TalkShow. I'm Nisha and I'm back again with my new guest in the show, Professor Dr. Biswo Poudel. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Nisha ji. Thanks for having me here.
Briefly introducing Professor Poudel. Professor Poudel holds his PhD from University of California, Berkeley, and he is currently working as professor at Kathmandu University School of Management. Professor Poudel served many institutions such as National Planning Commission, CNI, EC Mode, and several others. Today, we have invited him for sharing his opinion on government efficiency. So without wasting time, I would like to start with my first question. We all know that the shift to federal government system completed in 2015. In your opinion, sir, how has this transition affected the efficiency of public service delivery, especially from the perspective, in terms of coordination between local, provincial, and central governments?
Theoretically, I think a lot of things have improved in terms of government service delivery, in terms of raising tax. A lot of these things, they have improved. We have allocated a lot of tasks to provincial governments and also to local governments. And they're also providing a lot of services, even at the ward level, which I'm sure you know this.
Yes.
The problem is, again, in the implementation, there has been some hiccups. One is we have not been able to send the workers, the civil servants, to these local levels. Initially, also a lot of them they resisted. A lot of them they didn't want to go to the local levels because the local levels they don't have the necessary amenities. They don't have good schools. A lot of local governments were actually constructed later, so maybe some of them don't have good proper market also. So a lot of civil servants, they didn't want to go to these local governments. So that obstructed the performance of these local governments. Another one was also the provincial governments. They have not been able to enact many bills. There are many reasons why that has happened. One is central government has not enacted many bills, and the provincial governments are supposed to write the bills, which is consistent, compatible with the central government's bill. But if the central government hasn't enacted those bills, then the provincial government cannot do anything. And the major issue right now is regarding the hiring of civil servants by provincial government, and also regarding, I think, the security forces. So the provincial governments hope to get some of these powers to hire their own security forces, and the central government has been dilly-dallying on this. So a lot of these things, the enactment of law, sending the civil servants, and also in some cases, what has happened is the central government, the kind of projects, kind of activities that it is taking, there is some kind of overlapping with the kind of projects the provincial government and even local government is taking. And one of the major examples, and everybody points out this one, is the central government's activities or the projects include maybe a project worth 500,000 rupees or something, very small projects. So the local governments, they expect central government not to do the things that they can do. And so these three major issues: so overlapping of scope of work, and then the difficulty of sending civil servants, and delayed enactment of laws, that is actually hampering the efficient implementation of federalism. But I think in some cases, for example, during the COVID, people really appreciated the way local governments worked. They provided service deliveries, and right now also in certifying certain government documents, and providing old age allowances and other allowances efficiently. The local governments are doing good job, rather good job.
Okay. Now I would like to move ahead with our highways related question. So for years, the condition of highways entering to Kathmandu Valley has remained a major concern of people. What do you think would be the reason behind this? And I really want you to answer from the perspective of government efficiency side of it, sir.
The central government is actually weak in many ways. It's bad in planning. Sometimes, it doesn't know where to prioritize and what to prioritize, right? So you can see 4-lane roads being built far away from the capital, but the roads in capital where thousands of people, maybe and millions of people use these roads, but these roads are pretty bad. So government is bad in planning, number one. Number two, government is bad in looking for funds also. So if it is more active in looking for fund, it can probably collect fund from local as well as international sources, but it does not. So Muglin and Kathmandu highway should have been widened long ago, in my opinion. BP highway shouldn't be 1-lane road. There are many highways that I think the international communities also would be happy to fund, because there is a really high rate of return on these highways. But our negotiation was not focused on that.
Okay.
So, and the planning, if there is not proper planning, then there is no proper negotiation. And also think about it, right? So right now, the road that connects Muglin to Kathmandu, I think it has been, the current construction is probably less than 20 billion rupees. This contract, you don't really need to go to ADB to get the fund, because remember, we collected more than 50 billion rupees in infrastructure tax for Budigandagi, which has been used for Budigandagi. So there is money, there is a lot of money. We have raised a lot of taxes also, but we haven't really focused on improving these highways. And the third issue is in our country, the selection of contractors. We somehow always make a mistake in selecting these contractors. Let me put it that way. The contractors, they take these projects, but they don't finish anything on time. So I think either we are doing a really bad job in selecting the contractors, or maybe training them, or helping them. Something is wrong with this thing. And the fourth one, which I think is a very important issue, is the selection of project manager, or the way we implement these projects. If the project managers are good, and they will work hard in finishing these projects on time. They will collaborate with the funding agency. They will collaborate with the maybe planners. They will also collaborate with in a positive sense with the contractors, and they make sure that these projects are finished on time. But for a long time, we have been selecting, I guess, wrong kind of project chiefs. So we don't see people saying, hey, I finished it on time. Here is your road. We don't see that kind of government people. We always find people who make excuses, who don't finish things on time. So that is the problem with with these projects. And I think there are many roads that we have started constructing, but we haven't finished it, and it has become really, really difficult for all the passengers, for many people, because a lot of people travel to Kathmandu.
Exactly. Okay. Among the various challenges that you have said, are there any government ministries or services that you think are performing exceptionally well in terms of efficiency? If there are any, then I would like to know what sets them apart from others.
My favorite right now is Ministry of Energy, but it has been right now it's connected with Ministry of Irrigation also. They are like Ministry of Energy and Irrigation, and the irrigation part is pretty bad, unfortunately, but the energy part, I think it's pretty good. So remember, maybe 6 years ago we had load shedding. In 1990s, when I was in high school, I remember only 9% households they have connection to electricity. Now we have 99% households connecting to electricity. We have load shedding. Maybe it comes and goes, but we generally think that there is no load shedding right now. We actually have started selling electricity to India. There is cross-border trade. So a lot of things happened in electricity sector. So I would like to appreciate what happened in Ministry of Energy. Another ministry that I like is Ministry of Urban Development also. So it's just pretty focused. It works on roads inside the urban areas, but some of the roads it have built, they're pretty good. You go to Bharatpur, you can see some of these roads. and their size has also increased over time. And they also built some of these buildings, and I think the building construction is also going well. They also do Janta Awas thingy. So there are some other projects also, but I think I may disagree with what they do. Some of the projects that I normally don't like. I may not like, but I think Ministry of Urban Development is also doing a rather good job. The third one I like to appreciate is Ministry of Health also. So the health services has become much better due to insurance and all that thing. So sometimes I go to the local hospital in Chittagong and I find them very crowded in a positive way. A lot of people go to these hospitals. In the past, I think a lot of people prefer to go to private clinics, but right now the government hospitals are also doing a relatively good job. And you can see that in improvement in social indicators in health also. So what sets them apart from others? I think what happened in Ministry of Energy is there is some sort of stability in the leadership of NEA also. So once we hire, these guys they serve for 4 years also. So that probably is one thing. And also they have done, they have incrementally done better. So the generation part, they used to build a small hydropower project and then they started building on that. And also they have unbundled many of these stuff. I think they focus on, at least the generation part is given to private sector. They are focusing on transmission part and also distribution part. So a lot of these things happen. There is a lot of there are many smart people in energy sector also. Also Ministry of Urban Development also, I think it has been a rather stable ministry. The leadership there, at least the kind of leadership that I have dealt with, they were there for a long time, so they have a very good institutional memory. And also in Ministry of Health, they have a lot of exposure to outside world, and I guess a lot of politicians also care what they do in Ministry of Health. And there are some indicators, for example, we want to reduce the maternal mortality rate and child mortality rate, stuff like that. They were part of different indicators of government performance. And so people care about what is happening in those indicators. And some of the goals that we set in 5 years plan, for example, everybody will have access to these hospitals or child birth center. That also is very clear. So, and also I think in 1990s we invested a lot in medical colleges, or we allowed private sectors to open these medical colleges, hospitals, and that has also had a positive effect. So I would say number one definitely is energy. Number two, Ministry of Urban Development. Number three, health. Maybe a little bit education also, but health is doing relatively good.
All right, sir. My last question for you is related with your experience as a former vice chairman of National Planning Commission. So we really want to know that what action would you suggest for making the current governance system more efficient?
Well, there are many things to do actually, but I would definitely go for restructuring. I think what happened was, since 1950, we have whenever there is a change in government, we have done really big time restructuring of bureaucracy. So Tonka Prasad Acharya led one restructuring. Girija Prasad Koirala also led one restructuring after 1990. So the prime ministers were involved, but after Republic, after this constitution, we actually don't have that kind of high level involvement in restructuring. So, for example, I think the agriculture ministry should have the irrigation part. Maybe also the agriculture universities also. So also, the energy probably should be separated from irrigation, obviously. So a lot of these ministries, it seems a little bit random to me. So there should be a restructuring, and this should also accelerate the devolution of power according to
Why,
federalism.
sorry, sir. I'm just curious because you were talking about restructuring. So, any country or any government that Nepal can follow when they are doing the restructuring part?
We should really follow ourselves, in my opinion. We have a lot of lessons. So I think every country has their own experience. We have our own experience. We have our own weaknesses. So in my opinion, and there has been many of these high level restructuring commissions in the past, and there has been many studies. So in our context, I think I would focus on our own experience, actually.
So if for you want to say that we should create one team that should work on the restructuring part. Okay.
Yeah, very high level. It should be
Okay.
led by the Prime Minister,
Okay.
and also really seasoned bureaucrats, maybe judges, stuff like that. Those who know what they are doing. I think also the planning part in our country is pretty poor. I would say I personally would like to see planning commission, having more influential roles in our government. I think it has been weakened in the past at least past decade. So I want more assertive role for planning commission, and then this decentralization process should be accelerated. Maybe there should be good monitoring and everything, but it should be accelerated. I have full trust on local governments and provinces delivering whatever they are supposed to deliver, but we should give them legal frameworks and also resources,
more autonomy.
Yeah, autonomy. So education, health, basic health, education, basic repairing of road or irrigation services, they can handle it. So we must trust people. And the central government should be handling really big part, maybe big expressways, tunnels, maybe big universities, stuff like that. The things that cover the whole country. So the government should also privatize the task that it cannot perform efficiently on its own. So we did that in the past. In 90s, we privatized the education sector, health sector. Right now, also maybe there are many sectors that can be privatized. Many of the tasks that government is right now undertaking can be privatized. There should be more development in financial sector. It should be reformed. It should be properly monitored. The banks, the cooperatives, and a lot of these. And then also, I think there should be a better cooperation between project banks, which is part of a planning commission, and PPMO, which is Public Procurement Management Office. So these two organizations, I actually want to see them becoming very strong. What is happening right now is the ministries, they arbitrarily select the activities, the projects, programs, and they contract them out. We don't really know the total number of contracts that has been out. And I think there has been a little bit weak governance in the Singha Darbar. So we need to change that.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. We would like to stop here. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
For having me.